Welcome to Streaming Into the Void, where we discuss the streaming news for the week ending June 21st, 2026. I'm Kim Hollis, digital marketing expert whose 22 tests are all negative. Woo!
Yay!
Yay. With me is Tim Bridey, content creator and gamer, and the new national champion.
All right, I'm like the 5th or 6th best wrestler then? Or something?
Yeah, good.
How many titles are in this company?
Good for you. Also, David Mumpower, author of Disney Demystified and streaming media analyst, mainlining strawberry ice cream this week. He sure is.
That is my I'm sick comfort food. You can tell by my voice. I've needed it. And let me tell you, my black cat, Jetty, is so happy all the time right now because she loves cleaning the bowl when there's strawberry ice cream.
She does. And the podcast is produced and edited by Raul Buriel, who's just been dealt a red card.
That podcast producer from the Netherlands had it coming.
Yeah, they did. This week, we all wish we'd bought Roku at $26 a share, as Fox swooped in and snapped up the set-top box maker for a whopping $22 billion. What's Fox up to here?
First of all, after like 6 years, that joke finally paid off.
Right?
Folks, let me give you a little bit of, let's call it media history rather than streaming history. In 2017, old man Rupert Murdoch, who was 87 at the time, decided that streaming was disrupting his business model too much. So he had two choices. He could pivot or he could cash in. And since Rupert Murdoch doesn't care about family or anything, he didn't care if his idiot kids were okay or not. He took the money and ran, which led to Disney and a different company fighting it out for the former Fox assets, which, as you know, Disney eventually won for $71 billion. Now, there's all kinds of debates about whether or not Disney overpaid, and Disney would have to answer that they did a little because they'd planned to pay $52 billion, and then when somebody else got involved, they didn't have a choice. But the point is that Rupert Murdoch got $71 billion for the parts of his empire that people wanted, and he was able to not have to worry about streaming anymore. Well, the problem with that is Fox never committed to a streaming service. And in fact, their current streaming service, Fox One, wouldn't exist right now if our old friend, and you may not even remember the name of it, Venue Sports had become a thing because Fox had a deal with Disney where they were all going to work together. And that was all Fox needed, was an outlet for their sports content that continued to provide them with revenue. But when it became clear that Venue Sports wasn't going to happen, Fox pivoted to the Fox One streaming channel. And the problem is people aren't watching it. And we know this because the only update we ever got about subscriptions to Fox One came after a month. 2.9 million people had signed up in that first month. That was it. And we've never gotten another one. And as Raul was saying before the podcast, Fox will brag about literally anything numbers related. So if they're not saying anything, the subscriber numbers are low. And now Rupert Murdoch finally cleaned up his family's succession with Lachlan Murdoch taking over the company officially in 2025 after what was just a brutal, ruthless battle at the top for control of the Fox empire. And what Lachlan Murdoch quickly realized was Fox is not positioned for the current content machine that is streaming. Fox doesn't have that sort of presence. So it is trying to build one on the fly. And it did catch one huge break in 2020 when a company was panicking over the pandemic and sold Tubi at a comically low price. Fox picked up Tubi for $440 million. Tubi has 100 million monthly viewers right now. It's successful. Everything else related to Fox on streaming is not. And so Fox has just looked around the board and said, well, we might as well use some of our cash to buy something because we're desperate. And Roku was the best thing they saw on the board. Raul, what should we take from this transaction?
So when everybody thinks about Roku, they think about the set-top box. And yet the one thing that Fox doesn't really care about here in this purchase is hardware sales. There's going to be two assets that are of great value to Fox in this purchase, one of which is the streaming platforms. Roku operates no less than 3 streaming services. The Roku channel, the subscription-based Howdy, which only costs you $2.99, and then there's Friendly TV, subscription-based OTT OTT service like YouTube TV or Hulu Plus Live, except it's got fewer channels than any of those other platforms. In fact, it's only got the not great channels. All three of these services are going to augment the value of Fox's existing streaming platforms. They're going to augment Fox One and they're going to augment Tubi. Let's be clear here. Tubi is a free service, and the only way it's profitable is through advertising, which takes us to the other reason why Fox wants to buy Roku. The perception here is that Fox is trying to muscle its way into the living room, and it's not going to do that with a set-top box. All TVs sold today come with their own operating system. To understand at least part of this deal, we just have to look to see why Roku may have been for sale in the first place. Not long ago, the cheapest TVs you could buy anywhere, including at Walmart, were from brands that sounded vaguely familiar. Ooh, RCA? I think I remember that brand. JVC? Yeah, maybe. Or even from Walmart's own house brand. And all of these cheap TVs had the Roku TV operating system on them. What happened then is that Walmart bought Vizio. They bought Vizio in order to position themselves against Amazon and the Fire TV operating system. On a Fire TV, you may see a product on the screen and your TV will tell you, hey, you can buy that product on Amazon. Now Walmart, with their Vizio TVs, can do the same thing on their TVs. Additionally, Vizio, which has its own operating system, can run advertising on that platform. And that's the real gold rush here. Consumer information, that consumer behavior is the real value. And now Walmart controls that data from the Vizio TVs, and Fox wants to be able to do the same thing. So there's layers and layers of value to Fox here. So while the hardware itself may be of no real value, and the truth is that given that every TV at this point comes with some operating system already on it, selling set-top boxes is not a real revenue stream. Owning the operating system that comes on those TVs is going to give Fox control of that consumer data without having to pay for it. And in fact, they're going to be able to sell that data to others, and they're going to be able to sell advertising on those screens. So whether or not you are subscribing to Netflix or Peacock or HBO Max or Paramount Plus, if you're doing that through the Roku platform, Fox is going to get a piece of that, and they're going to run ads to you as well. This is actually a pretty clever approach, although it's worth pointing out that as with any other corporate merger, like the Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery one, a lot can happen before the deal closes. And this deal is probably not going to close until 2027. So in the meantime, we have to look to see if anybody else is looking at this and saying, Roku's for sale? $22 billion, we might have that much money as well. There may be other players that are going to come in and try to outbid Fox. So this is going to be a very interesting story for some time to come.
Yeah, so we're operating as an assumption that it's exactly as the story is being presented, that Fox will win this. But as Raul was saying, there was a time where it seemed like Disney was definitely going to win Fox's former assets. And then out of nowhere, Comcast came in and basically started a multi-year blood feud with Disney by outbidding them temporarily. Disney came back over the top and wound up securing the bid. But then the same thing played out with Sky in Europe because Disney was still salty at Comcast and wanted to brutalize them financially too. All kinds of corporations are looking around right now and going, $22 billion for Roku. Roku has its own revenue model with hardware sales, and it does have subscriptions. However, we should acknowledge that the updated subscriber info we have is trivial. It took Howdy 8 months to get 1 million subscribers at $2.99 a month, which means Howdy in late April of 2026 was earning less than $3 million monthly. It is not exactly a breadwinner. We know that Friendly doesn't have massive subscribers either because the last data we had about them was from 2022, and it was just 700,000 subscribers. Now, we've heard much larger totals for them from other sources after Roku bought them last year, but the last confirmed data we have was still sub 1 million. So realistically, these don't seem like significant contributions to the bottom line. But as Rolla was saying, that data, ooh, that is really, really tasty. And frankly, I'd rather Fox not have that data for me. So I'm kind of hoping someone else does come in with the bidding. Analytically, this is a move done because of desperation, though. As I said, Rupert Murdoch set up his son to fail. Lachlan Murdoch is now trying to take a big swing to put himself back in the game by doing this, because right now, Fox is wholly irrelevant on streaming. If this move pays off, he will have made them relevant. So it is worth the try. And honestly, they've got the money, and $22 billion isn't that bad for Roku. I don't think that's going to be the final price of Roku for that reason. I have to believe other people will be like, well, we should do at least 27. That is my blatant speculation based on nothing, but I know Roku's numbers pretty well, and 22 billion is too low.
Okay, Tim, I know we have a big box office story this weekend.
We do, and that is Toy Story 5.
Another one?
I know. Well, believe it or not, Toy Story 4 was 2019, which is still technically the before times. I mean, hard to believe it's been that long. And this one, we discussed it last week. I don't know if it made the podcast or not, but David pointed out Toy Story 4 just felt like they wanted to make more Toy Story. They have a really good idea for Toy Story 5 because here comes a tablet. Oh no, electronic devices for kids want to play with rather than toys. Come on. But this one still resonated well with audiences. $71 million on Friday, 17.5 million of that Thursday, of course, but that's still an amazing first day. I'm getting like upper 160s for the weekend. That is absolutely ridiculous. One, that's the biggest opening weekend of 2026, and I think second biggest animated opening of all time. Wow.
It's not going to pass The Incredibles 2, barring something unforeseen. That film did 182 million on opening weekend, so I'd be surprised if that happened, and we don't know for sure. There could have been an opening day rush, which we've seen as a phenomenon with some Disney and Pixar films.
Yes.
So it's not even guaranteed to go well beyond 150, but based on what we're seeing,
it's possible,
right now,
but yeah.
160 seems like the likeliest scenario, and that is just such a stunning accomplishment. And I really feel it comes down to the fact that that first trailer is so good, where they run into the device and the device starts taunting them with all of its many skills, and you just suddenly feel so archaic. And I think that there's a cleverness to it, because Toy Story as a franchise is 30 years old now.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Means the kids from then have kids of their own now, and they're also feeling like relics, because as we're talking about on this podcast, there is a divide between people who are under 30 and those of us who remember a time before the internet. And so this film kind of encapsulates that generation gap with its very story. And so the parents identify with one side of this, and the kids just love the shiny toy thing. So this has just been a genius concept since day one. Now, my question is, what in the world could they possibly do for Toy Story 6? But that's $1 billion from now problem.
That's several years, and yes, and a billion, exactly. But yeah, this is an outstanding number. I
mean, Tim, I want to say it like this. We're recording on Saturday afternoon. It has already made 150 million worldwide. Saturday afternoon.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I didn't realize how big this one, I mean, it's Toy Story, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but like how massive this one was worldwide. Awesome news, great news that was badly needed after some big stumbles over last week. Obviously, the little movies that could are doing great. Obsession, by the way, crossed $200 million this week. Oh, and Backrooms actually is now at 170.3 million as of Friday. Oh, that's also more than The Mandalorian and Grogu. So if you had that one also topping the Baby Yoda movie, please collect your prize. No, sit down, you're all lying.
We're really not talking about the failure of The Mandalorian and Grogu enough, because it is legitimately the least successful live-action Star Wars title ever in terms of, performance relative to expectations.
I remember Solo got trashed when that underperformed, but this is doing worse than that, and no one's talking about it.
That's actually the issue with it, is nobody is talking about it. Everyone was like, oh, I'll wait till Disney Plus.
I'll wait till it's on Disney Plus. Yeah, exactly. Solo, by the way, it was 213 million back in 2018, and that was considered a huge bomb. Like, worldwide, it was under 400 million. That was a disaster.
393 million for that was a disaster. When we're recording this, it's at 320, and it's hard finding that other 75 million.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not getting there. It's done domestically. That's not going to make that up worldwide. worldwide. We've joked about it that this movie exists to sell Mandalorian helmets and stuffed baby Yodas, but they can't ignore this performance.
Yeah, and the other thing about it that bears mentioning is the box office inflation means that tickets cost so much more than they did when Solo came out. I know that doesn't seem like a long time ago, but in the 2020s, box office inflation has just been comical. It's hyperinflation like anything else we're discussing in society. So the difference in ticket sales between the two is pretty dramatic, and Solo was the one Disney basically spent 5 years apologizing for. So this is wild, whereas Obsession and Backrooms, like, how? What? Why? How?
Right, these movies, which cost like basically 1 day of production on The Mandalorian and Grogu combined, and somehow they've outgrossed it. It is...
I mean, my thing is, Tim, if you and I have been saying for 25 years now the way to make money is cheap horror,
yeah.
Why the hell didn't we just grab a phone, go out in the forest, and film cheap horror?
Seriously, what the hell is wrong with us? My God, we'd be so rich right now. I mean, I'm super happy that Toy Story is doing this. Like, first you're just looking at 71 million going like, oh, okay. And then you realize, I mean, yes, there is tons of inflation and it's different times. And Pixar, especially Toy Story, has always been a see it right away type of thing. So it doesn't generally play by the rules that animated films or family films do. But this opening is massive. There is a small chance it actually does somehow top Inside Out 2. We don't think it's going to happen, but there's like a 5% chance of that happening. But yeah, even if it comes in like 150 to anywhere between 150 and 170, this is still an outstanding number. So good times for the box office and a big win after a stumble of some higher profile films. But again, Obsession and Backrooms, you can't complain about those performances at all, obviously, because they've basically saved the box office over the last month.
Yeah, they really have. And then with Toy Story, I want to circle back to the point I was making about The Mandalorian and Grogu, which was always a value proposition for Disney where they just wanted the toy sales. They were just trying to get people buying more Baby Yoda merchandise. Since the film has been so apathetically received, I'm no longer confident that has worked the way that Disney had hoped, but that was the plan. Well, with Toy Story 5, they have done something incredible here because they have completely revitalized this brand. People are talking about Woody and Buzz again to a degree that they really hadn't since Toy Story 3 came out. No joke. Mm-hmm. So, this is just an incredible performance.
It will definitely not be 7 years before Toy Story 6 with this performance.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Can we talk about the ratings next?
Absolutely. We have the Nielsen streaming ratings for Monday, May 18th through Sunday, May 24th, 2026. And while I thought the series finale of The Boys would be the top show, it turns out this week it is Nemesis, 1.3 billion minutes for 8 episodes for the first full week after premiering on May 14th. So super impressive that it was able to show a gain. And somehow this one has not yet been renewed. The algorithm is still deciding whether it lives or dies. So I'm curious to see what happens there, because we tend to see things either get renewed almost immediately or not at all at this point. I feel like there's no middle ground for that sort of thing. Oh, by the way, the show in second is also new. It is The Burrows, 1.2 billion minutes for 8 episodes. This is a big high-profile show, basically the main follow-up for the Duffer Brothers after wrapping up Stranger Things, and they just basically made, what if we did Stranger Things with a bunch of old people? So 1.2 billion minutes for its premiere on May 21st is actually quite good. The type of thing that would typically get you renewed, but I do have some news here. This show has already been canceled.
What?
Yeah. So there are rumors kicking around that there's some reasons behind this. It could just be, well, maybe it falls off from here. Obviously, Netflix has a month more data than we do at this point. It was very expensive to make. Or also they could be mad that the Duffer Brothers signed a production deal with Paramount. That couldn't possibly have anything to do with it. Netflix would never be that petty, right?
That's so sad. The Burrows has an incredible cast led by Alfred Molina and Alfred Woodard. And 1.2 billion minutes, there has to have been some very strong reasons for it to get canceled immediately after charting on Nielsen.
That's just a weekend number, too. So that's outstanding. And this could actually easily go higher next week.
Is the reason hurt feelings? Is it as simple as that? Like, this is like you saw your partner flirting with someone and you break up with them before they start cheating on you. That's all this is. Like, they've seen the Duffer Brothers making eyes with Paramount. They know that their Paramount movie is coming in 2028. And they're just like, after everything I've done for you, I gave you the best 10 years of my life. And now they've broken up with them. The whole thing is ridiculous. This is the type of number that most streaming services would drop to their knees and weep in joy to see. And Netflix is like, We can turn anything into a billion minutes. Sure.
Yeah, again, it could do even better next week. There is a distinct possibility the algorithm spat out a green light, thumbs up, renew this one for season 2, and then someone else said, no, you know what? Screw those guys.
We can always do more of our Virgin River. We don't need them.
Right. So I'm actually very, very interested now to see where this goes next week, because there will not be more, despite seemingly doing well after the first week and extremely well reviewed. Actually, nope, there won't be any more of this.
Extremely well reviewed and a billion minutes watched. If that's not a recipe for cancellation, I don't know what is.
Oh, that was definitely one of my favorite things that happened this week. Oh, there's The Boys in third. 1 billion minutes for 40 episodes from Prime Video. This was its finale. So I expected it to top the ratings, but it didn't really add to where it's been. It does crack a billion, but both Nemesis and The Burrows managed to top it this week, almost as if Netflix was trying to say something. I don't know. They could have possibly have planned that one better, though. After premiering last week, Dutton Ranch adds an episode, still here in fourth, 736 million minutes from Paramount Plus, of course, the latest in the Taylor Sheridan expanded universe. Just amazing. And not the last time we will be mentioning him on the ratings this week. A few things that have been here for a while. Fifth, Off Campus, 690 million minutes from Prime Video. Worst X Ever, 444 million minutes for 8 episodes and 2 seasons from Netflix. And The Pit hangs on again, 376 million minutes for 2 seasons, 30 episodes from HBO Max. New in eighth, The Wonderfools, 339 million minutes for 8 episodes. I was like, did we miss this one? What happened? And then I looked it up. We did mention it, and it is a Korean comedy series.
Yeah, kind of goofy superhero kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. I went back and listened to the description. I read it. I did not recall reading it when I when I saw it on the ratings. That's how much it bounced off me. But yeah, I guess you can never predict exactly what of the foreign language shows will catch on and which ones won't. But this one managed to. It did need the full week. It did premiere on May 15th. So we probably won't see it again, but it's always nice to see that these things poke their heads up on the ratings. The Roast of Kevin Hart drops to 9th, 324 million minutes, so no big staying power for that one after its premiere. But the Apple TV series Your Friends and Neighbors hangs on to number 10, 315 million minutes for 17 episodes. Still has a few episodes to go in its second season, so it is managing to hang on pretty well. It does help that the bottom of the ratings are soft, but yeah, the finale is not till June 5th of its second season, so it's mid-season and still manages to make the ratings. Usually we only see it when it's a premiere or a finale. Movies is unfortunately led by The Crash. Very impressive number, 1.2 billion minutes for the documentary. So this one just managed to be a bigger story than I thought it was when we talked about it and when it premiered. So I'm actually quite surprised at this performance. Second is Goat from Netflix, theatrical release earlier this year. Now on Netflix, of course, 839 million minutes. So pretty solid number for its full week after premiering. But something new in third, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan Ghost War, 809 million minutes from Prime Video. The latest adaptation of this thriller series was, of course, John Krasinski as Jack Ryan, premiering on May 20th. Not a big surprise that it's here. These always seem to do well. We've seen the Jack Ryan series, of course, do well when that aired. So the movie spinoff, yeah, definitely solid number. Good to see it. Remarkably Bright Creatures is fourth, 394 million minutes from Netflix, while Swapped, 362 million minutes in fifth. Stolen Baby, the Lifetime thing that was on Hulu and is now on Netflix, 326 million minutes. But new in seventh, Ladies First, 286 million minutes on Netflix. This was a comedy starring Sacha Baron Cohen that premiered on May 22nd.
Yeah, kind of a cringy premise where a chauvinist guy gets hit on the head and he wakes up in a world where now women are the bosses and the men are,
yeah, exactly. Wow. What year is it? Come on. In eighth is Nope, 223 million minutes. This is the Jordan Peele sci-fi mystery thing from 2022. It's here because it premiered on Netflix from wherever it was on May 18th, because of course it is. Zootopia 2 from Disney Plus, 192 million minutes in ninth, and K-Pop Demon Hunters returns in 10th, 167 million minutes. So all is right with the world when that is back on the chart, as is on the acquired chart. Bluey back on top, 932 million minutes for 154 episodes on Disney Plus, of course. This one is 9 shows we have seen before. La Brea Summer apparently already over, 677 million minutes in fourth for its 30 episodes. Our one new show, though, in 10th is Marshals, 528 million minutes for 13 episodes, credited to Paramount Plus and Pluto TV. Okay, it's on Acquired because it's a Taylor Sheridan show, so yet another show in the Taylor Sheridan expanded TV universe. The show airs on CBS.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to name this show because I thought it was actually called Why Marshalls. No,
No.
the Y is actually the brand for Yellowstone because this is a direct spin-off of Yellowstone.
Yes. It is a Yellowstone spinoff, of course, again, part of that whole universe. The show has one season that premiered on CBS actually back in March, and then also is on Paramount Plus. It is also amusingly, for some reason, credited to Pluto TV, but I checked, not every episode is there. Only like 4 of like the season is there. I don't understand exactly how that works or why, but yeah, very weird, I guess. But that was enough for Nielsen to credit it. So amusingly, there is Marshall's, a show you've been able to watch on linear television, but of course, being part of that whole universe is also on Paramount, and some of it is on Pluto. I got nothing else other than Paramount is stupid for letting him leave. But they have the Duffer Brothers, so there's that. I don't think that's a fair trade.
I'm not sure it's a fair trade either. As always, we close out with what's been keeping us busy over the last week. And David did not enjoy the last episode of Widow's Bay we watched, which was the 4th episode. So I watched episode 5 and beyond all within a few days of each other. I was done with episode 9 the day the finale came out. So I just watched it all the way through. It's fantastic. I love the mystery that they built, which I think was not necessarily a surprise, nor was it necessarily meant to be a surprise. But everything they did in service of getting there was so great. The journey was fun. And that finale episode is quite something that I will not forget for a long time. And it's kind of a bummer that we now have to wait for however long we have to wait for season 2. But gosh, what a fun, funny, and scary show all at once. It's just terrific.
Kim's rarely wrong, but there you are. There you have it. It is proof that it can happen. They actually give away the entire conceit of the first season right there in the freaking title. It is so painfully predictable. She's saying she doesn't think it's supposed to be a mystery. I saw any number of people going, oh my goodness, what a reveal.
Well, I saw that Widow's Bay finale and I loved it. About halfway through, I found it somewhat derivative of a different show that we watched in the early 2000s.
It was derivative of another show, and I think that's on purpose.
Ultimately, I came to realize, of course, that Widow's Bay is itself a parody of a number of horror tropes. There's going to be one episode that's a parody of ghost stories, and another one that's a parody of witch stories, and another one that's a parody of zombie stories. And this finale was a parody of this show I'm not going to name that we all may have watched in the early 2000s. And once I was able to make that connection, because it's pretty damn overt, I realized, I get what they're doing. Now I love it. It was really very entertaining. It's got you on pins and needles until the very last moment. It's got you on edge. It is incredibly frightening. And then you get that little sense of relief at the end, as many horror stories do. But there's always that question about what else may be going on. Unfortunately, we do have a season 2 coming at some point in the future.
And, the number of bells that ring at the end tells the story, and I'm not going to say more than that. Yeah. Raul, what's been keeping you busy?
Despite knowing it was canceled, I watched, I think, the first 4 episodes of The Burrows on Netflix last night. I'm always hesitant to watch a show that's been canceled because I'm afraid I'm going to get left hanging at the end. And in fact, that may be what happens here with The Burrows. But the fact is that after episode 1, I was totally hooked. It was going to be hard to not watch The Burrows with a cast that included, as I mentioned earlier, Alfred Molina and Alfred Woodard. It's also got Gina Davis. It's got Jane Kensmerick. It's got so many different actors that you recognize. What's bothered me about it somewhat is that they're all over 70, and it's not just makeup. These actors are starting to age, and it was kind of sad to see many of my favorite actors really getting on there, but nonetheless, they were spectacular in their roles. Alfred Molina really drives the story. He's fantastic. Like I said, I was totally hooked after the first episode. As soon as we're done with the podcast, I'm going to get back in there to see where the story goes. I assume I'm going to be incredibly disappointed by the fact that it ends after only one season, but I am just going to have to deal with that because so far this looks like it's a lot of fun. Much like Widow's Bay, I am not a big fan of horror, but the suspense here is really good and I've been enjoying it so far. So I will follow through and complete my viewing of The Burrows, even if there is nothing more that comes afterwards.
Okay, Tim, what's been keeping you busy?
Some time ago, I've mentioned a game called Vampire Survivors, which is a PC game where you start out with like dudes are coming at you. You just move your character around. You don't actively fire your weapon. It just randomly shoots depending on what type of weapon it is. And eventually you level up those weapons. You get more weapons and more monsters come at you to the point where they're just surrounding the screen and your dude is just in the middle and all sorts of chaos is happening. It has a bunch of expansions at this point, all of which will cost you like $10 and just have more characters, more weapons, more levels, all that stuff. But about 2 months ago, the developers launched a new game called Vampire Crawlers, which is a deck building game set in that universe. I'm only like an hour or two into it so far, but it is a lot of fun and I can see it becoming extremely, extremely addicting. It uses all the same enemies and weapons from that game and makes them cards. So you're drawing them, you're shooting them at the enemies and collecting, XP and gold and more power-ups and all that sort of thing. And there's a combo system that is actually surprisingly deep. So, and of course it has a million unlockables. This one costs $10. I'm sure it will be cheaper in a week because I believe the Steam sale is starting soon. But if you need yet another deck building game in the vein of like, Slay the Spire on the pile, yeah, this one is a lot of fun so far.
Okay, David, what's been keeping you busy?
So Kim and I finally made our way through season 2 of Running Point. And honestly, I preferred the first season because the second season was a little bit too predictable and the characters are pretty one note, but it's still a charming, fun show with a lot of joy to it. And I feel like we need more of that when we're streaming. There's not enough happy television, and this is definitely that. Very low stakes, gentle comedy, and it works for me. Kim, what about you? What'd you think?
I enjoyed it overall. I agree that it's not as good as the first season was, and I think some of that was because they dialed down Ness, one of the brothers, to some degree, and dialed up Cam, who's played by Justin Theroux, and he's fine. He's just the villain of the piece, so to speak. I think it'll be interesting to see where they go with it in season 3 with him as the real villain. But yeah, overall, season 1 was a lot more fun. Season 2 was fine. It was good just for, a quick binge. It's kind of one of those shows that you will most likely just forget about after you've watched it, but it's nice to watch.
It's not that Lakers show.
No, it's definitely not as good as that Lakers show was.
No, and by the way, screw you, David Zaslav.
Yes. Thank you for listening to Streaming Into the Void. Please consider subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts, and we welcome your feedback. Remember that we're on social media at Streaming Void and online at streamingvoid.com. If you like what you're hearing, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon at patreon.com/streamingvoid. Be sure to watch for us again next week.